इधर से start होगी ये
webcast. Uh, First of all, I want to thank all of you for registered yourself. This is a very important topic from the point of view of what's happening today. See, the consumers in the age of Corona are basically life simplifiers, or they are activists, or they are sane food choosers. So what is the life simplifier? They want to eat less and buy less. They want to spend more on vitamins and supplements and preventive health care, fresh food, household care, amongst others. And they hold back indulgence and consumption. And consumption is expected to be constrained. So obviously, conspicuous consumption is going to come down. So that's life simplifiers. Degrowth activists are those that feel that too much time and effort are going into consuming is going to surface, and they're worried that consumption will outpace the carrying capacity of the earth. In 1970, the population of the world was 3.7 billion, and 2011, the population grew to 7 billion, and today, 2020, stands at 7.7. Then there's something called a climate activist who worry more about the harm and risk that high buying consumers are doing to our planet through generating so much of carbon footprints. So they are also putting brake. And people will become more conscious of the fragility of the planet. We have seen the atmosphere clearing up, your PM 2.5 levels have come down, and we feel much better. And the last one is the conservation activists who plead not to destroy the existing goods, but to reuse, repair, and redecorate them. So they are going to reuse and repair. There will be less of buying. So in this scenario, what is really going to matter is probably from customers who you have to only maintain now existing customers who get your business moving. Now take this scenario one in existing customers. Today, the service sector now accounts for approximately 55% of India's GDP, up from 40% a couple of decades back. And it would therefore be rather seen that customers are getting more services and better services. Okay. And more services are, of course, clearly visible in fintech, mobile services, healthcare, real estate, and snazzy shopping malls, and so on. But are we getting better service? Are we being treated as individual customers with unique needs? Are we getting solution or just products? Are the companies showing respect for our time and opinions? Unfortunately, most of the companies are focused on just making a sale, rather than providing customer service. And as soon as the sale is made, you become the most unimportant person to such an organization, even if your needs are far from being fulfilled. But remember the bottom line, that every organization is service, and the purpose of any organization is to satisfy customers. Now, look at this scenario. You are on your way meeting your best customer, Jim. His firm accounts for 2% of this year's revenue. And after the meeting, you expect it to be 3%. You are pretty close to Jim. Okay. Arriving early as usual for the meeting, Jim is talking to a member of the staff. Seeing you, Jim dismisses him and motions you to sit down. But Jim won't be placing an order with you today. In fact, he might never place an order. Now, why? Jim explains his entire firm has been at standstill for the last 8 hours because of your product. And Jim has been on the phone to your customers, the customer support center, for the past day and a half. And your face betrays just a surprise. No one told me about it, Jim. And you're stammering. So as you strive to recall any kind of a voice message or WhatsApp message you may have prematurely erased, Jim is far too busy to hear about your communication data. After all, he's got a big one, all his own to worry about. And now, as you stride across the parking lot, you begin thinking about how to make up for the 2% in revenue and your company is about to lose. Forget about the 3% that you're talking about. Now, this is the scenario which is happening in every industry today. So, when you have customer complaint action following, you have a product or service failure, there is dissatisfaction, oblique and negative emotion. Then you have either a complaint action or a no complaint action. You complain to provider, then there is either a negative word of mouth or there's a third party action. So on the basis of which what happens is the customer exits, or he switches your brand, or he stays with your brand. And when there is no complaint action, they either stay or they exit. Now, when do we normally hear from customers? Mostly when they get angry. Mostly when they get angry and not otherwise. So now you see here that the iceberg of customer complaints. 3% of your customers are complaining like an iceberg. 15% have problems and complaints to other sources. 30% experience a problem but do not complain at all. So these people who are below the tip of the iceberg, they stay silent and may never come back to you. So if you have a complaint, so what you should do, and that is what we are going to discuss in today's session today. Because you see here that these 48% customers who have a complaint, but who may or may not come back to you because they don't say anything. Now, the probability of selling to an existing customer is 60 to 70%, and the probability of selling to a new prospect is 5% to 20%. Okay, so now how can you increase sales? Either you can sell to the existing customers, which we call as defensive marketing, or we win new customers that we call as offensive marketing. And you must all have experienced that it costs at least 5 times more to win a new customer than to keep an existing one. If you see an advertisement in the Times of India front page, that costs nothing less than 1 crore of rupees. It's a huge cost. So defensive marketing is much easier to handle than winning a customer. Now, many organizations focus exclusively on winning new customers through enormous sale and marketing activities. It would be very sensible for the organization to use at least as many resources on keeping your existing customers. So how do you do that? So you have customer dropouts. What's the customer dropout? You see this if you see this hillock where the customers are falling and the new customers are climbing. So in the beginning, the organizational turnover develops rapidly. In the next stage, it begins to level out. That is your point number 2 in the screen. And 3 is then the turnover begins to fall. And then when you go for your sales meeting, what do you say? Your other management will give reasons like there's an exchange rate fluctuation, there is a changes in the duty structure, or there's a change in legislation, some other new rule has come in, diminishing purchasing power, poor weather conditions, or it could be a fierce competition. So this is what the excuses people give, and it's accepted because everybody knows that there's an exchange rate fluctuation and there's fierce competition. But nobody talks about the real thing, why customer dropouts happen. Now, sales figures decline because the number of customers won is not sufficient to compensate for the customers lost. And some organizations believe the situation is satisfactory if the total number of customers has not declined since the previous year. You feel very happy, that's not decline. This mistaken conclusion may have a very fatal consequence for the profitability of the organization. Now, replacing 1,000 lost customers are equal to the same total in the short term. This is a very poor deal because it costs at least 5 times more to win a new customer than to keep an existing one. Because therefore, the 1,000 lost customers give the organization a very bad reputation, which few marketing campaigns can make up for. The more an organization loses and more difficult and expensive it is to win a new customer. So now, customer satisfaction and complaints. Now, why do you think that 48% people they don't complain? And that is because they do not feel their complaints are welcome. Customers do not know whom to complain to many times. These days, of course, things have become a little easier, but it's very, very difficult to get through the complaint center. Customers do not know how to complain. Complaints are more difficult to make than choosing a new supplier. Now, I'll tell you, I was to travel by British Airways in March to London and USA. And the flights got cancelled because of COVID. And I wanted the British Airways to give me a refund. I had so much of struggle in finding out whom to write to. I was struggling through the website, and finally I got something. I just posted something, and then I got a reply from them. But it was quite a task to get to know how to complain. So this is very important here. The customers do not know who to complain to, because there is none of them in the website have said that for your complaints you refer here. Nobody has said that. They try to hide that part. And sometimes what happens is that earlier complaints were left attended, so even this one will be left attended. And mostly the complaints are treated with disgust and suspect. They think to the pagal aadmi hai. Okay. So consumers speak their mind. If you buy a car with the purchase, and if you're pleased with the car that you have purchased, you will tell an average of 8 other people about the car and how happy you are. And if you buy a car and unhappy with the purchase, you will tell an average of 22 people. So shoddy consumer durables, it is constantly reminding customers to change the brand next time. Now, I would like to justify this by saying that a salesperson is calling on a customer. He has just purchased a new car. He just purchased a new car and is very happy with it. If they don't know each other very well, the customer will find it strange for the salesperson to immediately talk about how happy he is with this new car. Can he say, hello, my name is Rahul Tareja. Before we start our meeting, I must tell you that I have just bought a new car and I am very pleased with it. It holds the road very well and it's so easy to park. If anybody speaking like this will think that this guy has gone mad. because people don't talk about satisfaction. But on the contrary, Mr. Pranav, who just bought a new car, is late for a meeting with some people he has only met once or twice. Pranav is very displeased with his new car, which has already been back to the workshop 3 times within the last month. It is partly due to yet another problem and not the previous problem that he is late. And Pranav, in this case, may well open with a statement such as, "I'm really sorry I'm late. I don't know if any one of you have bought this XYZ car. If you haven't, don't. I just bought one. What a load of rubbish it's always going on." So dissatisfaction is a more convenient topic of discussion, than satisfaction. People will not talk about something that they're very happy about. So you have then, this gives rise to misleading customer statistics. One complaint by email or by Twitter is actually equal to 27 dissatisfied customers. And if you multiply this by 100 emails, that means there are 2,700 dissatisfied customers. So the manager will say to his people, "Today we had just one dissatisfied customer and one of those really fussy people." That's how the industry goes. Because that fellow, because only one guy has written a letter. But one guy means how many? One guy means there are 27 dissatisfied people. Okay, so now many organizations have a tendency only to see those customers who express their dissatisfaction. The organization does not see those dissatisfied customers who sneak out unnoticed. So if an organization wants a true picture of their customer satisfaction or dissatisfaction, it's not sufficient just to ask the existing customers. It's also necessary and even more important to ask the customers who have left and their reasons for leaving. Remember that every customer who complains believes they have a valid reason for doing so. If the customer's expectations are wrong, then maybe something the organization has not explained well enough. There's some product, and maybe the sales guys have not given proper training as to what the product can do. So which itself justifies the complaint. So you can get a complaint by Twitter, email, social media, and as I said, that every customer who complains believes they have a valid reason to do so. Now, this is very interesting here, and this is what we would like to focus upon today more. 55% to 70% of those who complain in writing remain customers if they receive a rapid reply. This is extremely important. 55% to 70% of those who complain in writing remain customers if they receive a rapid reply. 95% of those who complain in writing remain customers if they receive both a rapid and a satisfactory reply. So therefore, the moral is that a member of the staff who processes complaints rapidly and satisfactorily is the organization's most valuable asset. Do we do that? I think we are far, far away from this. Now let's take the example of a story. It's the stomachache. A passenger telephoned an airline immediately after a flight in order to complain about a stomach infection, which had occurred only a few hours after she had eaten a fish during the flight. It required a bit of detective work to find a person who was all willing to receive the complaint, as I had to do with British Airways. This did not happen until the person was referred to another person 5 times. Only on the 6th attempt, the passenger was able to get the right person on the line who informed this kind of a complaint has to be emailed. Now, Unlike most dissatisfied customers, most customers would just walk away at that point of time. Now, unlike most dissatisfied customers, this passenger did not give up. She sent a mail. 6 weeks later, she received a reply to the effect that she could not possibly be infected by the food on the flight. She must have contracted the infection elsewhere. The passenger replied, the 3 of her fellow passengers who had eaten the same fish had also been ill. You know what happened? The airline never replied to the last email. Whether the airline thought that the passenger had received a satisfactory answer still remains uncertain. However, one thing is absolutely certain: in future, the passenger will use this airline only if there is no alternative. So this is the true story of what happens. So now, effective complaint handling. When you handle a complaint, your attitude and behavior must reflect that. But one thing is very important. The second point, which I have given here, is the customer who complains has the right to complain and still has some confidence in the organization because he likes your organization. He's still a customer and can be made a goodwill ambassador. So the difference here is that the customer who's taken the trouble of complaining, he loves your company. There's a problem with him. And not only that, of course, he has a right to complain. He's your customer. And why don't we make a goodwill ambassador out of those? And it gives you and your organization a chance to correct the mistake and recover the customer's confidence. So a customer who complains is not one of those who's trying to infringe upon your activity, but he's trying to help you out to tell you what's wrong with it. Now, so why do customers defect? Customers defect because perceived indifference, which is 69%. And perceived indifference includes lack of proper response to any query, for service, inefficient complaint handling, and the lack of courtesy. That airline's example I gave you from the stomachache was absolutely the perceived indifference. 14% could be product dissatisfaction. Competition, 9%, I can understand, and others could be 8%. Now, see, when you say that respond, now what's the meaning of respond? Does respond mean just that when you get a Twitter response or you get an email response, you just reply that we are going to look after you, everything is fine? No. The difference is that response is the organization's ability to be responsive. If you cannot, it is the organization's inability to be responsive. Now, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. This is very, very common, and there's a very subtle and critical difference in this. The most people will listen with the intent to give you a reply, but they will never just with it, but they will not understand you. But the fact here is that you must listen with the intent to understand, with a view to act. I've added the word with a view to act. Just understanding and saying, I'm very sorry, I'm so and so, this is the company's policy, or so and so, this will never happen again. That's not the question. With a view to act. Now, when consumers are happy about something, they tweet. So when the organization's call center follow and say, we are listening to you, hey, we are listening to you, give us the details and let's see how we can help you. That's not listening. It's the intent to respond. You are doing reputation management. You are doing crisis management. This is not a proper way to respond. It's just your reputation management. I've done my job as a support manager, that I have at least replied in. Now see here, there's an example I'm going to show you. A client has a quality issue with the product they were selling. and customer was complaining. Now, what do? It could be just a handful of customers who are complaining. So how do you bring him into confidence? You must bring him into confidence and try to understand what is at the heart of the issue. That means listening with the intent to understand. What is at the heart of the issue? Listening with the intent to understand. Now, in this particular example that I'm giving you, the manufacturer made a small change in the formulation of the product, and it made a significant difference. Now, the significant difference did not make any difference to the quality and the performance of that product. So they changed it, and it had followed all the specifications of the company. There's something like this, that if you remove the fizz of the Coca-Cola and leave the taste the same and color the same, the branding and the packaging the same, you will not have a happy Coca-Cola consumer. That's the fundamental theory behind this. But you must try to go deeper into it and find to understand, respond to understand. In the case of the stomach ache, nobody tried to respond and understood what the real cause of the problem was. So when we say that somebody has complained to you, this picture takes me to a scenario. Let's say when you were at school, and at school you had a lot of friends, used to celebrate your birthday parties. Okay. And what happens now if you see at 7 o'clock in the morning, a friend of yours whom probably you have never met for 20, 25 or 30 years, suddenly knocks at your door and wishes you a happy birthday? How would you feel? You'll feel something, a kind of happiness that is going to come from your heart. Something that comes from your heart. Okay. So we say that a complaint is a gift. Can you hear me, please? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? Because I can't see my picture. But can you see my picture?
Yes, we can see your picture
Yes,
as
sir.
well.
Where have I gone then? Okay, so a complaint is a gift. So take it that, and why I say complaint is the gift, because only 3% of your customers are complaining. And 48% of your customers are not complaining. It is one of those clients who are dissatisfied and who are interested in your organization. They want you to improve. So consider, just change your total attitude that a complaint is the gift. He went out. Okay. Now look at this. Focus on retaining old customers. Let us say you have a customer base of 100, and you have 20% of dissatisfied customers, and you have 80% of satisfied customers. Okay. Let's take it that way, that you got an 80% satisfaction index, which means 80% of satisfied customers and 20% as dissatisfied customers. A dissatisfied customer will tell about 5 to 10 people, that is twice as many as satisfied customers who talk to. And out of the dissatisfied customers, you can have angry customers, you can have disloyal customers. Let's say 20% are angry customers and 80% are disloyal customers. So 20% of 20% is 4 angry customers. But these guys are going to announce it at least 5 times. So those 4 into 5 becomes 20. So 20 bad word of mouth. And if the disloyal customers, of course, you take 80%. So 80% of that will become 16. and they'll be talking to 2 people for a bad word of mouth, and that is 52. Now, if you take the satisfied customers, 80% satisfied, of which 80% are loyal and 20% are delighted. Okay. So loyal customers become 54 and delighted customers become 16. So loyal customers out of 54 will speak to one more person and give an excellent word of mouth, a very good word of mouth. And the delighted customers are so happy that they will multiply by 2 and they will tell more. So total good word of mouth becomes 96. So when you have 96 good word of mouth and 52 bad word of mouth, the net referral effect becomes 44. So you have referral customers. You can say that 10% of that referral effect will be your referral customers, which is 4.4. And then from satisfied customers, you can also get repeat customers, which can be 10% of 80%, which is 8. So you have 4.4 referral customers and you have 8 repeat customers. Because these delighted customers, that 16%, were actually delighted by your product or service. Now see this calculation. Supposing you are targeting a growth of 20% and the customer acquisition cost, assuming it is 100 units per customer. All right. So repeat customers in that case was 8 and acquisition cost was 100. So 8 into 100 is 800. Referral customers were 4.4. So multiply that by 200. So that becomes 880. And new customers, you will spend much more money. Okay. That's about 7.6 because it's for repeat customers. The figure is just rupees 100. But referral customers, you got to work on them a little bit. And that's why I said the acquisition cost is 200. And for new customers, it has to be 5 times more, as I said earlier. So if 7.6 is your new customers to get a base of 20, so 3800 becomes the acquisition cost for new customers, and your total acquisition cost becomes 5480. Now, if you just improve your customer satisfaction index by 5%, the whole equation changes. Your repeat customers become 8.5, your referral customers become 6.3, and your new customers, just to keep a 20% growth, will be 5.2. And just see, so repeat customers will cost you 100 rupees, your referral customers will cost you 200 rupees, and new customers will cost you 500 rupees. So your acquisition cost becomes 4710. This is a 15% saving. So all you got to do is to just increase your customer satisfaction index by 5 percentage points. And this is the result you get. So at the bottom, I've already written to target a growth of 20%. It will have to acquire 7% in new customers. That is 5 times higher than the cost of getting new business. And with 5% higher base of satisfied customers, they result in a 20% increase in repeat and referral business. Only 5% new customers need to be targeted. So, neglecting the existing customer. See, this is what happens. You must be very, very familiar with this. Hello, Mr. Customer. I'm calling from so-and-so bank or credit card company or telecom company or any other service provider. I have a new scheme that gives you free service or other free goodies for the next 1 year. Customer says, but I already use your service and I'm paying for it. Telemarketer. Oh, really? Never mind. I can offer you another scheme which gives you more free goodies, lower interest rate, blah, 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 whatever. Customer says, I'm not interested in any new scheme, but I have a problem that I want to resolve. He has a problem which he wants to resolve. And telemarketer says, sure, sir. You can call up the toll-free number and speak to any of our customer care representatives, and he will be glad to help you. In other words, I don't have the time to solve your problem. I'm only interested in selling more services to you, even if you don't need them. And by the way, I did not even know that you were a customer before I called. But who cares? This is the industry, the real ground situation today happening, and nobody seems to care. On the contrary, if you look at this example, this is also a factual example. Mr. Vikramjit Ghosh, while driving back home in his Maruti Swift Desire, got stuck in heavy rain. Frantic calls to the Maruti helpline did not help. He dialed the India Garage service station, which services Mahindra. And within 10 minutes, Mr. Shyam Prasad from India Garage arrived on the scene and with his team fished out the car. For attending this distress call, he did not accept any payment as a sweet gesture. And this was reason enough for Mr. Vikramjit to buy a Mahindra Bolero. So what happens here? So your Maruti, for Maruti, we talk about Maruti, very good service, where Maruti had a service delivery failure. Okay. And in the case of Mahindra, it was a service culture that encompassed all its partners so passionately. It's not only the service department or the sales department, but encompassed all its partners. And then what happened? One day, the Mahindra guy, in Bombay, you have this Ganesh Chaturthi festival. And during Ganesh Chaturthi festival, the idols of Ganesh, are taken in small vehicles or even large vehicles for immersion into the sea. So one fellow was watching and they found the idols to be too big. So there was a flash in his mind and he went on and told the design guys to make this particular model, which is the max pickup flatbed. So here Mahindra is turning issues into an opportunity. Today also during COVID times, we are seeing many examples of COVID issues being converted into an opportunity. Every day we're reading something new. So now let me share an actual story at National Panasonic. When I worked for National Panasonic India, many years ago rather, I was the service head of National Panasonic in India, and I was reporting to a Japanese. So, and we set up our service center somewhere in the GK1 market. Our office was also there. And we had a customer who came from UK, London. And he had brought a Panasonic television from there. And when he installed it in Delhi, he was a doctor by profession. When he installed it in Delhi, it would not work. Now, the moment he brought it to our service center, I told him that, sir, this model will not work in India because the transmission systems in India and in UK are entirely different. So it's absolutely a useless piece over here because it just can't work. He says, but I checked up with your Panasonic service center, your call center at your office, and then said, sir, there is no problem, it's going to work. We said, they cannot be. I mean, how irresponsible can be Panasonic in UK? Then he was continuously arguing, that no, I have said now whom to believe, who's right, who's wrong. Then we decided internally that what we'll do is we'll take the television set and do a local Indian modification to the circuitry, and let's see if we can make it or not. So we had one of our guys who was quite a biscuit technically. He changed one of the main components and used the Indian component out there, and he fixed it, and the TV started working. You were getting sound as well as picture. But since it was just tailor-made for that kind of the UK model, and our part had just been manipulated, and fixed in, so we had to make a small provision of a tuning knob which was fixed on the side of the television set. And we told the doctor that you can always use it, but off and on you may have to do this particular tuning. He says, don't worry, as long as it works, I'm happy. I'm not too concerned about looks of the TV. And the whole, at that, in those years, the entire repair cost us about 3,000-4,000 rupees. We didn't charge him any money. And we gave him the TV set. See, he was so happy. He was so pleased. Now comes another issue. After 7 days, I see him again into our service center. He puts the TV on the table. It's not working. I said, what happened? You saw. He says, no, this knob that you have provided, it keeps on drifting, just all on a sudden. And many times I lose my picture, for nothing. I said, but we told you that this will not work in India. Why are you forcing us? And we did whatever we could. We didn't even charge you. So this conversation was going on. And we had a Japanese MD at that point of time, Shinozuka. He was silently listening to my conversation with the customer. And he called me. He said, Sengupta-san, they call San, S-A-N, San. What is the problem? I told him the whole story. He says, do one thing. You replace this TV with an Indian one. I said, replace the TV Indian one. 20,000 rupees at that time. Sengupta-san, how many such cases you will get in a year? You think Panasonic cannot handle these kind of fake complaints? I said, fine. So we had to get one fresh TV from our stocks and we gave to the customer. You should have seen the delight on the customer's face when we told him you don't have to pay. And believe you me, in the next 2-3 months, we received an order of 40 Panasonic TVs from different doctors in the hospital he was working. And he was placed at Batra Hospital. So this is the power of customer satisfaction. This is the power of customer delight. That 3% of those small segment of customers who come and say, look, we love your company and we don't want you to go wrong and do something which will keep us tight and give us better word of mouth. No. So now, another example which I always quote to everybody is the Hampton Inn 100% satisfaction guarantee on the product. It's a chain of inns in the US. They just say that Hampton Inn 100% satisfaction guarantee. We guarantee high quality accommodation, friendly, efficient service, and clean, comfortable surroundings. If you are not completely satisfied, we don't expect you to pay. There is no asterisk, there is no disclaimer, and there is nothing at all. Just plain, simple satisfaction guarantee, which means if you are not satisfied, you don't pay. So in one of my visits to the US, I wanted to go and stay in these kind of hotels. So I booked myself into Hampton Inn with my family. And there, while I was checking out, but the difference is that when you book into Hampton Inn or any other hotels, you have to make payment in advance. So if you're not happy, they will give you the money back on your credit card. So I went to the reception as I was checking out. I have read about your 100% satisfaction guarantee. He said, how is it? He said, yes, sir, we give you guarantee if you're not satisfied. He says, how many cases do you get in a year? He says, I can't remember. Not in my place, there is not a single case. But on the whole, we had just 5 cases in the whole year. And out of the 5 cases, one customer had taken the guarantee 4 times. So obviously, then they probed into it and they found that that guarantee, he really had some problem with the air conditioning. So you got to believe your customers. So your guarantee was unconditional. Your guarantee was easy to understand. Your guarantee was meaningful. Your guarantee was easy to invoke and easy to collect. So this is the power of the service guarantee. Now, what is loyalty? Is it the same thing as liking a retailer or frequently patronizing, a retailer? So how do you make customers loyal? Let's see how you make customers loyal. The empirical study of happiness, it says that satisfaction from buying objects is short-lived. and depends on continued repetition, which means you keep on buying objects. That kind of satisfaction is very, very temporary. Whereas the consumption of experience produces more sustained satisfaction. This example, the last two examples that I gave you were actually experiences, experience that produces more sustained satisfaction. So the first stage is customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is something which you have to do. Nobody should think that if you're satisfying a customer, you're going out of the way. No, it's a part of the price the customer pays for your product or for your service. So, and for which we are all paid our salaries. That is customer satisfaction. And then from customer satisfaction, you have customer delight, which means it is when people want to go beyond their normal duty. And then you have customer experience. And when you have more and more customer experience, then the customer gets engaged in your brand. So you can say here that customer experience is that you have the customer. When I say customer service, I always break it up into two. I call it customer plus service, plus IT, which is an enabler, plus the acquisition, and plus the consistency at which you deliver, and is equal to the experience. And this gives rise to your brand loyalty. So customer plus service plus IT plus acquisition and consistent. Consistent means at every touch point. The example of that airlines I told you, I took 5 times. There was no consistency. Today you call up a call center and they say, this is not our department. I have to talk to somebody else. He or she again is asking those questions to you. What's your number? What's your address? Confirm so and so. That's not consistency. You should be able to be. I'll give you a simple example of consistency that happened in my case. Can you please put your phones on mute, please? Your mic on mute, please. Please put your mic on mute. We ordered some food in Delhi. It was ordered in London from a big chain of hotels over here, and from a menu that the person had, which they belong to Calcutta, and the food was ordered. The food was ordered for us for Delhi. So the Calcutta hotel menu, the person asked that the front office or the office out there to find out what the menu in Delhi was. So they got the menu card from Delhi. Of course, everything is online, and he narrated what all is available. Then food was ordered from London based on what we like. And then we got a message that the food will be delivered on so-and-so date at so-and-so time. So now, and believe me, it was a customer in London, or rather the order was placed in London to a hotel in Calcutta, and the hotel in Calcutta transferred the order to the hotel in their Gurgaon, and from Gurgaon office, we got a freshly packed meal at the right time and on the right time and on the right day, and steamingly hot. That's called consistency. That means consistency at all the touch points. You just cannot have consistency at one point and then the other guy doesn't know, what somebody else promised. So your brand loyalty can only come about when you have customer plus service plus IT, which is an enabler. IT itself will never give you customer experience or other customer satisfaction. IT is only an enabler. Then you have acquisition and consistency in experience. This is equal experience, and this gives rise to brand loyalty. So if you talk about a customer loyal exercise, a loyalty exercise, think of a service provider to who you are loyal. What do? Your behaviors, actions, and feelings that indicates you are loyal. Why are you loyal to this provider? What factors have influenced the formation of your loyalty? Now, when you start answering these questions, all the points that I'm narrating in the past half an hour, 45 minutes, they will come. They'll just flash in front of your eyes. Now we come to what is called a lifetime value. So what's the lifetime value? A lifetime value tells you how well you are resonating with your audience, how much your customers like your product and services, and what you're doing right, as well as how you can improve. The average amount of money your customers will spend on your business over the entire life of your relationship. So it is the net present value. It is the net present value of the profit to be realized on the average of new customers during a given number of years. Now, to compute it, you must be able to track your customers from year to year, and this is used to create a strategy. Now, let's take this example. Today, you are at the beginning of your job, all right? And you want to buy a car. And what you can buy today is either a Maruti Alto, which is the bottom model, which can be priced at 2.95 lakhs, or you can buy that latest one, which is the Espresso, that is 4.15 lakhs. And let's assume that the retailer is getting a margin of 5,000 rupees now. Okay, so he sells you the car. And then you are very happy, and you are also happy to such an extent that if you narrate that example that I'm caught in some kind of a huge rain and I ring up and Maruti Service Center is not picking up the phone, and then I ring up Mahindra and they come and send those guys over and they don't charge me anything. So if you can have that kind of service provided by Maruti, so what will happen is 3 or 4 years, 5 years down the line, when you have gone up to a higher position, you'll be thinking of changing your car. You would like to migrate to a newer model. You will have all the options. There are so many people. But if you are very, very attached to Maruti, then what happens? You will buy a car which is say Maruti Baleno, or you can buy the Dzire, which is at 6.5 lakhs. And let's say here, the dealer is making a margin of 15,000 rupees. Now, I have mentioned here 14,310 because 15,000 rupees, which you will get after 5 years, if seen today with a cash discounting factor, becomes 14,310. And then you're also delighted with everything for their support, for their service, for their timely intervention. And then you are absolutely engaged to the Maruti. So 10 years later, maybe you will buy a Maruti Vitara or an Ertiga. And probably where the dealer is making a profit of about 35 to 40,000 rupees. And seen today it is 25,880 rupees. So you're loyal. And further down, you can even go for Maruti S-Cross. But this can only happen if you're totally engaged to this company. And by engagement, I mean you have an excellent and outstanding experience with this organization. You can keep your customers forever. So if you calculate this lifetime value of the customer, now when you buy the Alto, you get a profit of 5,000. So NPV becomes 5,000. Now plus 5 years is Swift Dzire, which is 50,000. So cash discounted would be 9,310. And now plus 10 is Ertiga, which is 30,000, 11,570. And so total profit is 25,880. So this is today. So if the retailer is really absolutely confident that he'll be able to take this customer all along his life cycle, which is for about 10 years, his NPV today will be rupees 25,880. Many times what happens when we are in sales, and we are under pressure to increase our quantities, and we appoint a retailer or a stockist, and we dump him 5 lakhs or 3 lakhs worth of goods. And then next month he says that you dumped me so much. and I can't buy more from you. Now you are under pressure to complete your target. So what do? You go and appoint the dealer just opposite his shop, and you appoint him, and you meet your target. But the first guy who was always with you, he was a smart guy, he's a good guy, and he's a very good potential. You may have lost him forever. So you've got to maintain these kind of relationships and build trust with your retailer network and distribution network so that they remain loyal to you forever, so that your lifetime value. There are many retailers I know that when I used to work in Philips, they've been working for 30, 40, 50 years with the company. And what is their lifetime value? Huge. And that's what Philips is to survive upon. So now, in this particular example, if you see here, so in here you must say that you must compensate the sales force on both sales and customer satisfaction, not only on sales. So there'll be a second parameter which has to be included, is customer satisfaction. So when you say customer, probably which customer has the greatest lifetime value? In first customer, it is 1500 first month Jack, 1500 per month he's buying continuously, and Jill has bought 18,000 worth of goods in the first month and nothing in the rest. Now both have bought 18,000. So which probably has a greater lifetime value? It's obviously it is Jack, because your Jack is buying every month, where Jill must have bought goods worth 18,000 rupees because it was on sale or it was something like that, and she picked up a lot of stuff. And we call them as the cherry pickers. So they have much lower LTV. This is how organizations compute their lifetime value. So I'll now skip this. I'll just come to this one just a sec. Yeah. Now, why customers are profitable over time? In the first year, you have a customer acquisition cost. Take the example of a credit card. In the first year, the company has to spend money on the acquisition. They have to send you a parcel of the card, and somebody has to come to your house 2-3 times, get your forms filled up. So in the first year, your acquisition cost becomes negative. So it's -1 year, you see. But as you grow, you see as you grow, your customers are much more profitable over time. That's because you've got a profit from the price premium, you've got a profit from referrals because you're happy with it and you tell more people. You have profit from reduced operating costs, by which I mean, in the first year, if you are ordering only one item in your credit card, and in the second year, you ordered 3 items or 10 items in the credit card, the cost of making one bill for 1 item or 7 line items is the same. So your profit from reduced operating cost, then profit from increased purchases because he goes on buying more, and then there's a base profit. So if you see here that your lifetime, that customer becomes much profitable over time. I'm going to show you this from another example. There's something I read only 2 days back. Flipkart has started this warranty assistant. This is being operated through third-party contractor. It's called Consumer Services Private Limited. And it is being covered for any smartphone that you buy on Flipkart, at-home warranty service, which is priced at $99. It will be picked up from your house. If it has to be replaced, it will be replaced. Or if anything else has to be done, it will be done. So you don't have to go out. These days, people have been fearing that when you buy a phone, either from Flipkart or Amazon or from any other e-commerce site, you do not know really what's going to, who's going to look after the guarantee. So now look at this company in the US, Intuit. Intuit, their basic product is the Quicken software, which is the personal finance product. And it is available just for $50. So it's exceedingly good. Customers are looked after well by the company. All their requirements are met. Then what happens, they gradually add another item, which is called the bill payment service. and bill payment service. They pay all your bills at $10 per month. Then another facility they got, they were printing checks, which is $120. They send in matching envelopes for a box of 250. Then they have added TurboTax software using Quicken data for tax returns. They will file your tax returns with the help of this TurboTax. Then you got a Pocket Quicken version, a single tap data synchronization with your PCs. And finally, you got a Quicken.com, a website which is $10 per year. And plus, they've added medical expense manager, home inventory manager, home and kids money program. So if a customer is buying product for just $50, which is the Quicken software for personal finance, the relationship value becomes $454 if customer uses all these services. Amazing that it does, and no wonder, such a good company. Now look at this, another company is called the First Data. It's a financial services company. It's Atlanta based. It handles 45% of all US credit and debit transactions, prepaid gift card processing for many US brands such as Starbucks. And Telecheck is a subsidiary, which is the large check acceptance company that provides a range of financial services for business customers related to check guarantee. So whatever checks you are giving, they guarantee the checks, verifications and collection services. But the core product is Quick Response. And the new product they launched is the Fast Track. Now see what happens here. You see the lifetime value of an average business customer at Telecheck International. You have quick response, year 1, 33,000, year 2, 39,000, it's a normal increase. People are happy with it. Year 3, 47,520, year 4, 57,000. And Fast Track gets added on to the next year, which is 550066007920. And cost of Quick Response first year, because the cost to develop it is 6600, and 24,090, 28,908, and see those figures there. And for Fast Track, the cost is given in the next slide. So now, if you see the lifetime value, in the first year it is negative. In the second year, it is 33,000 minus 24,090, which is 8,910. And similarly, year 2, the lifetime value is 10,692, and 12,830 and 15,397. Fast Track is again 1388, 1348, 1617, 1940. And because of this, you have reduced overhead collection, 15% decline, and then you have profit from referrals. So you see the total profit, how it goes up with just simple 2 products. And it includes the size of customers referred. And this is the lifetime value of new customers. This is the real example of this Telecheck International that I'm showing you. So the bottom line is that how do you retain these customers? So again, we come back to the old story that it is much more expensive to find a new customer than to look after your existing customers, give them those additional benefits which your Intuit is giving, and that's how you have to keep our turnovers up. Because in the time of COVID, this is exactly what is happening. People will not make fresh purchases. Today only I have read in the Economic Times that Cabin Care is giving up their plush office space in Chennai for rent. It's about 40 to 50,000 square feet area, because they have realized that working from home is much easier for them. And they have said that maybe once in 15 days we can meet in some hotel or so to see face to face, and meet up. And even 2 or 3 individuals can meet in a coffee shop and have a discussion. So they're going to have additional revenue from that 40 to 50,000 square feet of space in the prime area of Chennai, and rent it out. So these new business models are coming in every time. So now I'll show you, we'll come back to the same gym that he was going, how it happened. Most companies have one company, two CRM systems. You have one CRM for marketing, one CRM for customers. Okay. So marketing, they are giving you mailers and they're telling you they're keeping a tab on your activity, what all you have done. And there's another software for the customer support. You see, they've got two different servers. But many of the data in the servers are very common. Many of the data are very common. But there are two different systems. Now, in two different systems, what's happening is that I'll give you an example. Last year, I was going to renew my car insurance. I got a call from the sales department from IFCO Tokyo that my insurance was due. And so I paid it up to them and they sent me a letter, dear valued customer, we would like to take this opportunity to thank you and we are fully committed to so and so. So it is a acknowledgement that they have received my insurance. And on 2nd May, I get this email. Visit your car, 3 days to renew your motor insurance policy. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. So each one is working on his own server and they're not able to, that consistency is not there. So this is what I'm telling you, what consistency is all about. I'm getting a separate mail from the sales department and separate one from some of the operations department. And that's because every department has its own software, has its own server. So in scenario one, which you saw here, you're on your way to meeting your best customer. And as you stride across the parking lot, you begin to think about how to make up for the 2% in revenue you and your company are about to lose. This is the result of different servers in different departments. Absolutely the same. Now see here what happens. This is called the stovepipe approach. Stovepipe means in their haste to adopt customer loyalty programs and increase retention rates, marketing departments are acquiring CRM tools without touching base with other areas of the company. They're in their all silos. We call it the silo, and the stovepipe effect. And when you have the stovepipe effect, but if you have that integrated CRM, which means one particular server that collects all your data, which is, for example, survey responses, your call center, your call centers, your demographics, purchase data, your campaign responses, billing and payments, your web activity, returns and call centers. So this gives rise, because each is collecting your billing system, your order provision, enterprise resource planning, every item is here. And when you have this in order with one particular server, then look what happens. You are on your way meeting your best customer, Jim. His firm accounts for 2% of this year's revenue. And after the meeting, you expect it to be 4%. En route to the customer site, you turn on your PDA computer, which begins beeping. The screen display reads, priority 1 alert, customer 1 impacted. According to the message, the customer you are about to meet has just experienced a major outrage. A field service rep has been contacted and is now working on the problem. Integrated data. 10 minutes later, you park your car at the customer's building. You are early, but instead of going and meeting Jim, you walk to the back of the building and find your service rep busy repairing the equipment who had been here since yesterday. Broken part just showed up, he said. He was able to order the part remotely and have it dispatched by courier. The device is currently displaying instructions that guide you through the installation of the part, and it will be ready in 30 minutes. So you're relieved. Relieved, you take the stairs to Jim's office. He asks you to wait for 5 minutes, during which you power your laptop and get to know about Jim's current product model and installation date. I know all about it, Jim. Jim looks at you and smiles. I knew you would, which means I knew you would take care of me if there's a problem. we must just be overloading our system and it needs an upgrade. And 45 minutes later, as you leave Jim's office, the field rep confirms the machine is restored. And as you walk down, you're leaving behind a relief customer, and in the bargain, you increase your revenue contribution by 4%. So this is the power of integrated data. So the customer tells you, I know that you will look after me. That's the kind of confidence. And in the first case, in scenario one, you saw you're struggling. I didn't see any message. Maybe I removed it. So this is how you look after your existing customers. If this existing customer is being looked after, he is going to give you by himself an order which is an upgrade. You don't have to do much about it. Now, before I conclude, these are some of the figures that we shared with you for a 5-star hotel. They always believe in customer loyalty and how they project the kind of profits, and they create their own strategies. So I think it's 8:15. I'd like to maybe conclude here. So are there any questions? We can take a question and answer session. You can unmute your mic and speak out, please. Hello.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, this is Professor Vinod Kumar.
Yes.
Sir, one query. In one of your slide, you were showing something after 5 years and 10 years. I could not understand how you derived those figures.
NPV.
The Maruti you were talking about.
Yeah.
So if
I'll go back to this one. This one.
Yes, this one from 5,000.
Yeah.
Reached,
now, you see, you use this formula. In 5 years, you have to look future cost as of today, which is 15,000. And if you take 10% of the discounting rate and use the formula 1.10 to the power minus 5, so that gives you 9310. So the future profits as seen today. Okay.
At 1.10, right?
Yeah. 1.1 is the 10% discounting rate. It depends on what is the discounting rate. I have taken 10% as cash discounting rate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions from anybody?
Hello.
Yeah.
So this is Dr. Manupriya.
Yeah, Dr. Manupriya.
Sir, I took this subject as one of my specialization when I teach students. I found one query from students that there are many times there are unreasonable demands, unreasonable complaint from customer side. So there again a challenge for especially for a service marketeers to manage these unreasonable customers. So what would be your suggestion to this situation?
Just a second. Yeah, just repeat the question again, please. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So I'm taking one of my subject for MBA student as consumer behavior. So I got this query from students only that there are many times you have your customers as unreasonable customers, or maybe they have unreasonable demands or unreasonable complaints. So in that situation, and especially in case of a service scenario, so how to handle these unreasonable from company's point of view, unreasonable complaint of customer?
Didn't you listen to the story of National Panasonic?
Yeah.
Wasn't the customer being unreasonable?
Right.
Then what did my MD say? In my work experience, I have noticed that these kind of unreasonable customers, you can count them on your fingertips.
Right.
And that must be the empowerment that you should be able to take a decision of what you should do at that point of time. These costs are very, very little to the bottom line of the company. But just as the doctor gave us an order of 40 TV sets, my God, we just lost 20,000 rupees on a new TV and 5,000 rupees for the repair expense. And Then we sold 40,000. We sold 40 TVs. And
Right.
I've experienced in my own life when I used to work with service department. I have always learned. I did it that way. If somebody very fussy, I would go to his house maybe 15 times, 20 times to satisfy him. And if not, and then I replace the whole damn thing if he's happy with it. And if he's happy with it, he will go and tell the whole world, this company is so good.
Right.
But it needs empowerment, you know. There's nothing called unreasonableness, you know. Actually, and if there are unreasonable people, there will be unreasonable people. Because everybody, it's not one size fits all. And service providers must have that ability, you know, to respond and take action. If he or she doesn't, then this must be discussed at a higher level for the benefit of the customer. How we can make him happy. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other question, please?
Hello, Gunjan
Yeah.
this side, sir.
Yeah, Gunjan?
Sir, yeah, as you said that we should, the way your company did for Panasonic and other companies do, but in case of like Zomato and Swiggy, there are too many complaints which are registered for unnecessary things. For that, don't you think it's not easy for a company to bear such cost for a long period of time?
See, first of all, if you have to take these kind of steps that I'm telling you, you have to be confident about the products of your company. If your product is faulty, then this kind of system will never work. This will never work. You have to make sure. Now you tell me, why do these five-star hotels today started doing home delivery of laundry? You know, and when you know very well that during COVID times, if I give my garment to any kind of a dry cleaner, you never know what kind of germs it will come back with. I mean, today I'm even refusing to give my shirts and trousers for ironing to the press wall outside. But if it is a five-star hotel, I will give it to them because I know that they handle the product so well, you know. Exactly. So for Zomato also has to be very clear that their product is absolutely far from any complaints. Nobody should. When a customer is complaining, again I'm saying, there is a reason to complain. Nobody just complains unnecessarily. So there's something must be wrong. Now, even in the case of Hampton Inn, and I told you, there was one customer who complained 5 times. So he must be saying he's a fussy customer. But no, that customer had a genuine problem because he had revoked the guarantee 4 times. And why? Because the air conditioning was not properly working. And that was proved to be not working. You see, that's the thing. You have to be very sure. And what happens is that when you give this kind of a guarantee to your customer, the entire motivation of the people working in your organization goes up. And then you are motivated to do better and better and better. And then the standard of your company goes up. Okay.
Definitely, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, this Madhu from Coimbatore.
Yeah.
Sir, it is a really very, very practical session, sir. We had your insights about your vast experience in the customer service.
Yeah.
It was very useful for us, sir. Since I'm working in customer service department and
Which company do you work for?
I'm working in LMW.
No, LMW. Yes, I saw your resume. Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
it was very, very, very nice insight, sir.
I'm very happy to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, very excellent, sir. Thank you, thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other questions for anybody? So before I conclude, if you are interested in the transcripts, I will send you a mail, and I'd also like you to fill up a small feedback. And if you're interested in the transcripts, that will not be free. That will be priced at rupees 250. So I'll give you all these PowerPoint slides which I have shown you today, and plus any other reading material that I have on this particular thing. Okay, so you can note down the details. I'll show you. you can take a picture of this and you can either send it by Paytm, and you have to confirm to me by a mail that you have done it. And the confirmation email is given there. And I'll mail you the PPTs and other reading material I've got. So there are no more questions. So can we then conclude the meeting? Mr. Dildar Singh?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very nice. Yeah, thanks a lot for your feedback, and we learned a lot. And this is a brush-up session for us. So I am also in customer service from last 20 years, and
Oh,
it was,
20 years, actually. Okay. Okay.
it was great learning from your side.
Okay, good.
Nice
Dr.
talk.
Dr. Manupe has already asked. Mr. Sarkar, you're there? Mr. Neil Sarkar?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah. Hello, hi.
What are your comments, please? Yeah.
Very useful. Yeah, very useful. I think the focus on existing customers is crucial. And I think you disregard that at your peril. I think that the other thing is empowering your customer service people to be able to not to be kind of officious and that they can actually be flexible and then escalate if necessary. And having that empowerment there is, I think, really important. So really, really useful. Thanks very much for this.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for attending. Amit Tangri? Amit? Amit, are you there?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's
So it
your
was, it was very nice session, sir. And
where are you
great
working?
session. I'm working with Inalsa Home Appliances.
Oh,
as a
Inalsa,
service,
yes. Okay, okay. You think that you'll be able to put into practice, at least you'll be aware of what it's all about, no?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ranjan, are you still there? Mr. Ranjan Paul is there? Okay.
Yes, I'm there. It's a good session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No questions. Thank you.
Charanjeev Singh? Okay, Harsha?
Hello, this is Charanjeev Singh.
Yeah, Charanjeev, yeah.
Yeah, it was very nice program, and you have given a very good correlation with the customers, basically, and the level of the satisfaction. There is a very interesting question.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
It is a gift, basically. Complaint is a gift, basically.
It's a gift, basically. Yes, a gift.
That was very good slogan, which was given by you. And nobody can see. Complaint. Just I am speaking in Punjabi. यदि आप अपनी कंप्लेंट नहीं सुन सकते तो आपका जीने का हक नहीं है।
हक ही नहीं है। हाँ।
Yes.
ये पूरा अगर आप ये कंप्लेंट को अगर आप गिफ्ट में ट्रांसफर कर दे तो उसका मतलब चेंज हो जाता है बिल्कुल।
Very right.
Very right.
Mr. Sen, it was very nice. I was just pinhead that very. It was very. I make the snapshots also of that very.
Very good.
That very this one. And all the positive things was there. I think so. There is a lot of things to learn.
Okay.
Okay, Doctor. Very nice. I'm from the knitwear and the textile industries. From
yes. So I know. I got your.
Yeah. Thank you, Doctor.
Amjad Khan, are you there? Amjad, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Tell me. Any questions?
Very good. No questions, sir. लेकिन काफी.
हिंदी में बोलिए. मुझे पहले बोलते तो मैं हिंदी इंग्लिश मिला के बोलता ना.
कस्टमर को किस तरह से गिफ्ट में कन्वर्ट करना है ये बहुत अच्छा लगा है. न्यूज़ ऑन एग्रो से मार्केटिंग में हूँ.
फॉर्मेट चेंज कर दिया मैंने. कंप्लेंट को गिफ्ट में कन्वर्ट कर दिया.
ये तो एकदम.
मिस्टर रविमान आपका कुछ है कमेंट? ओके फाइन, थैंक यू.
यस सर. सर
या बताइए.
रवि हियर सर.
या रवि.
एक्चुअली सर दिस इज अ गुड मीटिंग। इसमें सर एक छोटा सा मेरा एक मैं जस्ट अपनी तरफ से कुछ क्वेश्चन इसमें पुट करना चाहता हूँ सर। वो कुछ है जैसे कि एक्चुअली क्या सर, मैं 10-12 साल से सर्विस डिपार्टमेंट देख रहा हूँ। तो इसमें क्या है सर कि ठीक है हम कस्टमर को सर्विस दे रहे हैं, उससे सेटिस्फेक्शन है, कस्टमर लॉयल है। एक्चुअली क्या ना कि जैसे कस्टमर के माइंड में रहता है कि कुछ अपडेट, कुछ नया, कुछ उसके हिसाब से हमें चलना चाहिए आगे अगली तरफ। ठीक है सर,
बहुत ही जरूरी है, नहीं तो
जी सर। एक्चुअली क्या ना कस्टमर क्या सोचता है कि ठीक है आज प्रोडक्ट भी अच्छा है, सर्विस भी अच्छी है, कंपनी भी अच्छी है, लेकिन क्या है कि क्या कंपनी आगे के बारे में सोच रही है, जो कस्टमर के माइंड में है कि आगे हमें क्या करना है, कुछ और नया करना है, कुछ इस तरीके से। यानी कि कंपनी को भी कस्टमर के माइंड के तरीके से चलना पड़ेगा कि कस्टमर क्या सोच रहा है और कंपनी क्या कर रही है उसके लिए अगली तरफ, यानी कि फ्यूचर प्लान क्या है कस्टमर के रिगार्डिंग। तो वो भी एक सर एक बेटर वो है कि कंपनी का R&D जो रहती है, रिसर्च न्यू डेवलपमेंट, उसके ऊपर भी बहुत अच्छा फोकस होना चाहिए। सर्विस तो है ही है सर, प्रोडक्ट क्वालिटी भी है, लेकिन एक R&D जो रहती है, रिसर्च न्यू डेवलपमेंट, यानी कि फ्यूचर प्लान क्या है, तो उसके बारे में भी थोड़ा सा एक इनपुट रहेंगे सर इसमें, तो और ज्यादा बेटर रहेगा सर।
मेरा जो नेक्स्ट सेशन रहेगा वो डिजाइन थिंकिंग ऊपर होगा। मैं आप सबको इनविटेशन भेजूंगा, आप ज्वाइन करिएगा। आपने जो एक बात कही, मैं आपको एक सिंपल एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ। एक लेडी थी, वो एप्पल खरीदने गई बाजार में, एक फ्रूट वेंडर के साथ। तो वो एप्पल के अंदर कुछ और वो सेल में था, वो प्राइस थोड़ा कम किया हुआ था। तो वो लेके गया, उसने कहा ये तो एप्पल खराब है आपका, इस पर दाग लगा हुआ है। तो वो जो दुकानदार था, वो दुकानदार पता नहीं पीछे कहीं चले गया और जाके उसने अपने सप्लायर को फोन किया। और वो खड़ा ही रहा, वो लेडी खड़ी रही। तो उसने उसको बोला कि ये जो एप्पल्स है, ये यहाँ से आए हुए हैं ये एप्पल्स, और इसके अंदर ये जो दाग है ये ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का दाग है, और इसीलिए आप लोगों को हम सस्ते में दे रहे हैं, इसीलिए आपको डिस्काउंट पे भेज ना। ये सारा कॉन्वर्सेशन लग गया करीबन 20 से 25 मिनट। जब वो आदमी वापस आया, तब तक वो लेडी जो सामने खड़ी हुई थी, जो कस्टमर थी, उसने 5-6 आदमी को बता दिया कि ये वाला एप्पल आप मत लो। इसका मतलब क्या होता है, आपने जो कही एक बात कही कि जो फ्रंट लाइन जो लोग हैं, they should fully be conversant with this happening with the product. ये तो एप्पल का तो मैंने बड़ा सिंपल एग्जांपल दिया आपको। आप कोई भी अगर कॉम्प्लेक्स चीज ले लेते हैं, you should be totally conversant with the product, its performance, specification, क्या चेंज हुआ है, so that you can tell the customer. जब आप इस चीज को बेचोगे, you have to sell with a lot of confidence. Isn't it?
Exactly, sir. I was reading somewhere today that how fast the complaint is resolved also is a major factor in customer satisfaction. Sir, I would like to add in your next session, can you elaborate more on the customer dropout statistics, how to calculate and what all things needs to keep in mind?
Okay.
Because sitting at this level, we are unable to know how many customers have gone out.
Nobody is able to know that. But you think weather is bad, there is COVID, there is exchange fluctuation, petrol price goes up, so the sales are bad. Down other reason. वो कोई बात नहीं, वो बेच दो, नया कस्टमर। मैं आपको एक और एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ। मेरा एक दोस्त था, बहुत पुराना, मैं कंपनी का नाम नहीं कहूंगा, वो उस कंपनी का वो सर्विस हेड जाके ज्वाइन किया, नेशनल सर्विस हेड। तो ज्वाइन करने पे दिल्ली में उसकी ट्रेनिंग हुई और उसको फिर जो हेडक्वार्टर्स था उसका, इट वाज समवेयर इन महाराष्ट्र, तो उसको वहां पर भेजा गया फॉर फाइनल। बिलीव मी, वो प्रेसिडेंट के पास गया, प्रेसिडेंट इज द ओनर ऑफ द कंपनी। उससे पूछा सर व्हाट इज माय KRA। वो पता क्या जवाब दिया उसने, और उस टाइम वो नंबर 1 या नंबर 2 ब्रांड था एक टाइम का। उसने कहा कि देखो ऐसा है, तुम्हारा KRA खाली एक ही है, your KRA is only to make my dealers happy. I will get 20,000 fools to buy my product every month. You don't worry about that. But I want my dealers to be happy. अब ये कोई बात नहीं ना। dealers to be happy का मतलब क्या होता है? Dealers to happy means dealer कस्टमर को खाली रिप्लेस करे जा रहा है, और ये जो उसका जो सर्विस हेड है वो भी उसकी बात सुने जा रहा है, उसके बाद क्या है तुम्हारे गोदाम के अंदर सब मतलब डिफेक्टिव स्टॉक्स आने लग गए. So this is and that company today has closed down. That company today has closed down after so many years, and once upon a time it was a flagship company. And because there was demand, people were selling, and he makes a statement, I will get you 20,000 fools to buy my product for you. This situation ye hota hai. Nobody is really, unless the whole culture flows from the top, you will not be able to do anything in the front line or in the second line. The culture has to flow from the top. Same thing with Zomato. If you're only looking after how to get my funding and not looking at my end user and the product, the same thing will happen. Complaints will come and people will give up Zomato. Okay, so any other please? Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm fully satisfied.
Fully satisfied? Okay. Okay. Satisfied or delighted or whatever, I don't know.
Yes, sir. Delighted.
Delighted. Okay. Okay, right. Vinny, are you there? What do you have to say? You're the first person
Yes,
to
sir.
come in. Yeah.
Yeah. So I find it very insightful because, sir, because you gave a lot of examples, that too practical examples, and a lot of examples from your own personal life. So I was able to more relate with it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a good session.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Harsha, were you there throughout the session? Harsha, were you there throughout the session?
Yes, am I audible, sir?
Yes, you're audible now. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I was there for the session. I was about 5 minutes late because I was on another call.
Okay, never
But
mind.
absolutely, I would agree to Vinny, and so sessions were always interesting to the fact because it was always real life examples, and that really makes learning easy. So yes, that's the best part. And yes, very nicely presented, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay, I just want to, okay, I'll send you a mail, and I've got my website called managementmusing.com that I keep on sharing stories, my life's lessons, and then you can relate to them very well. In fact, the one on National Panasonic also I've shared in my Management Musing website. So I have collected all sorts of experience. I write them down and put it on the website for everybody to learn and understand. Okay, Pankaj, are you there?
Yes, sir, I'm there.
So what do you have to say?
Good session, sir. Very good session. And Vinny has rightly said that when you combine the experiences, personal experiences and examples with the concepts, then combination is good. So it was a good session. Thank you.
Thank you, Pankaj. Chandrasekhar, are you there? Chandrasekhar, you haven't spoken anything of the last person. Everybody else is done. Chandrasekhar, you're there?
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What do you have to say? Did you understand much about the session?
I joined too late.
Oh, you joined too late.
Yes, but this is very good. सर अच्छा रहा होगा सर.
अच्छा रहा.
हाँ.
आप कहाँ पर काम करते हैं?
हम सर बिहार और झारखंड देखते हैं सर.
अरे वाह, बिहार झारखंड से भी आ गए हमारे पास. चलो बहुत अच्छा लगा.
जी सर.
Okay, thank you, folks. Then it's time to leave now. So we will meet again when I have my next webinar. I've got yours. आपका सबका email ID मेरे पास है. मैं आपको message वगैरह भेजता रहूँगा. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.